Hold on for a second. What's up, YouTube family? I would like you guys to make sure you like and subscribe to our video. It would help us get into the algorithms so we can be seen and bring more engaging content to you guys. So like I said, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Appreciate you. Welcome to another edition of the Pick and Downs podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Kind of hit that little month lull of major sports. I mean, we had the All-Star weekend this past weekend. I think it went in a little bit of a good direction. I got to give Adam Silver credit on how he's approached it. It seemed more competitive, a little bit more buy-in. I was actually talking with a colleague today that I feel like there's more superstars now that it's kind of going. The pendulum is swinging back where they really don't want to be friends with everybody. Right, like we've seen that kind of from Wembanyama, guys like Ant Edwards too. Like they're buddy with some guys, but it ain't banana boat CP3 and Carmelo Anthony all up in here anymore. So I don't know. Hopefully it takes a turn on positively for the league. But I've been watching more college basketball. That's kind of what I've been getting into, getting ready for March Madness.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now it's a funny period because NFL is dying right now because its season's over. NBA is picking up. All-Star weekend, a lot of tanking discussions, a lot of effort discussions, a lot of big ideas people talking about right now. A lot of big ideas for potential massive changes coming up this season because Adam Silver, he got his work cut out for him right now because there's a lot of issues that are popping up right now that he's got to address. But this is why this is why I get paid the big bucks to deal with issues like this, not the easy stuff you do as commissioner. So this is what you signed up for. So you got to get some results right now.
I feel like not alignment, but the whole, hey, what are we going to do with NBA taking teams topic comes up every year. There's not really a solution. And I think it's just to the people at large who are watching NBA right now, it's kind of just filler time. We're just looking for topics to fill up. We didn't beat the LeBron and Lakers topic to death. So let's go ahead and start talking about how can we fix tanking, which in reality, to me, I think it's simple. It's like you would have to reduce the games. And nobody wants to do that because everybody loves money. So in that case, I think a lot of this conversation is just performative. But I do like some of the people because there are I don't want to say performative for everyone because obviously if you're looking at like ESPN, FS1, Fox, all those shows are performing and they're just trying to get clips. But there are some NBA dedicated podcasts who have came up with a couple of really cool ideas in terms of what they would think would be beneficial to stop teams from doing it. So I don't want to, paint everybody with a broad brush, but for the most part, it's performative and it's just like filler topics. So once, we get into the month of March and we start doing March Madness with college and then the NBA playoffs, a lot of that will go by the wayside. But right now we're going to be talking about things that are going to be in a maybe not so distant future, and that's NBA expansion. People kind of just brought it up with like a lot of the star guys. When I was watching All-Star weekend, it was just like, man, there are a lot of star players obviously at the All-Star game. But then when you're watching I guess it's on Friday night or Saturday night. I think it's on Friday night, I guess it's the rookies and sophomores, whoever that are playing. It's like, man, there's a lot of talented guys who once they start getting expanded roles, they can become stars on their team. So it's like, hey, maybe there's a space in the NBA right now where there's just so much talent you can spread it out. So now we started looking into these two teams with, let's just presume, I think there's a 98% chance that's going to be Vegas and Seattle of the two expansion franchises. Safe. So we kind of wanted to do our starting five just for Seattle or Vegas in terms of who would be the best prospects that you could put to make a starting five with the caveat, and we're looking at it from the top 8 players are protected. So we're picking from a pool of players where basically 9 through how many people on the team. So people, you can go ahead and start us off with a 5 that you think could be viable.
And we got a bunch of Bub Carringtons up in here, man. No offense to Bub, he's been having a nice season as a rookie, man. But it's just I was going through it, and I took a decent amount of time on my train ride back home from work today to kind of look into this. I actually made a spreadsheet, Zoo. I think you'd laugh at this, but because to your point, Sean, right? It's like keep 8. And most rosters have 12 guys on. They got obviously their G leaguers. Who's going to be picking a bunch of G leaguers? I'm sorry, Yuri, but it's probably not going to happen, man. You're not going to get chosen in the expansion draft. But it was really interesting to kind of break this down. I did have to do a little bit extra research just from all the moves at the deadline. Can't really rely on a Basketball Reference, Zoo, because you click on a guy and you're like, oh wait, this team doesn't have ownership over him anymore. Like the Luke Kennards and a lot of the Grizzlies guys that got moved around in that Triple J trade. So I'll start. I tried to put it into point guard. I think it's kind of just like guards, forwards, big men. Some ideas that I had at the point guard position. I'm very curious if like the Cavs would keep Harden. Now, I know he's a free agent, I believe, after this season. So that's what I mentioned to Sean. I was like, I don't know the rules of the expansion. And, do you have the ability to claim like a free agent, almost like turning it into an RFA situation where do you get a chance to negotiate before he hits the expansion draft? I don't know that rule.
I believe he does. Yeah.
I think they do.
Yeah.
But looking at the Cavs, like, do they want to invest a spot? Not that they're absolutely stacked, but, outside of D. Mitch, Mobley, Jared Allen, they moved off Ty Jerome. Jalen Tyson, he's a young guy that they'd probably keep. I tried to kind of, take into account that a lot of the young guys, they're probably going to give him a chance and be like, hey, we're going to keep this guy, like a Rob Dillingham for the Bulls, right, Zoo? Like he could be like, oh, we're going to keep him. Just to see what he can do in a year or two, not put him up for expansion. So that was just kind of my approach in general. Harden was kind of the big one. Paul George is another one from like 76ers. Like what would his situation be? Would they just be so annoyed with him that they'd let him walk, in an expansion? So, some guys at the point guard position, TJ McConnell out the Pacers, Drew Holiday from the Blazers, Tyus Jones off the Magic. I already said James Harden, but the guy I kind of like the most is actually Colin Sexton. I feel like he's a guy that's kind of just been bounced around the league a bunch, and we've talked that if he gets some decent minutes on a team, maybe he could end up taking another step. So he's a point guard that I would not be mad at his age to be starting a team and give him a true shot with kind of a green light at any point in the season. Because that's really what these expansion teams are going to be. It's just going to be kind of like what the Bulls were right after the deadline. So like, we're just going to throw them all out there, and you guys all got the green light.
That is an expansion team we got right now.
Mm-hmm. The shooting guard, combo guard position. Some guys that came to mind: Trey Mann, Kelly Oubre, CJ McCollum on the older side. Miles McBride, I went back and forth on. I feel like the Knicks would probably keep him, but they'd have to make some decisions, right, on the Knicks squad. So a guy that kind of came up, Zoo, was Anthony Simons. I mean, he's been a good scorer, right? Very good scorer. He's just kind of a microwave guy, the Jordan Poole types, right? Jalen Green, but he's more seasoned. He's obviously, proved himself as a, 20-plus point per game scorer, both on the Blazers. And then, his Celtic situation wasn't the best, but he balled out for the Bulls in a couple of games too.
Yep.
So he's a guy, also he's very young age. Very quality there. Small forward, some guys, Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, if you want to go, the ancient players. I already mentioned Paul George. I kind of put a question mark there because I just feel like they wouldn't let him walk. Duncan Robinson, I feel like the Pistons would have to decide between Herter and Robinson and probably lean on I think they would lean on Herter more just because of his age and a little bit more versatility. But I don't know. We've talked about the Duncan Robinson contract for years, man. It's just absolutely brutal. One of the only poor decisions Pat Riley's made in his career. But a guy that I think, once again, on the Miami Heat, Norman Powell. I mean, they could let a guy like him walk, right?
Yep.
Very proven scorer, quality player. We saw him ball out in LA. So he's a guy that I would not be mad about having on my starting five. Power forward and center is where it gets really difficult. You could toss in the Kyle Kuzmas, the Obi Toppins, Mr. Slow-Mo himself, Kyle Anderson, Precious Achiuwa. Another one, Tobias Harris would probably be a big decision for the Pistons as well in that sense. I would not be mad with a Tobias Harris pick. If he was available, I'd probably go with him. If not, it would probably come down to like a Kuzma or Kyle Anderson, and just give me Kyle Anderson, man. He's not going to cause too much havoc.
Wait, what, you take Anderson over Kuzma? I don't know.
Kuzma, maybe. I mean, they're both 30, right? They're both the same age. It's not like you're getting a major benefit over the other, but pick your
Team
points.
Player,
That's pretty much it, right? Yeah, and he's got no ego. I think that's the big thing, right? And he comes from the Spurs organization, which I trust a little bit more than Kuzma and Jenny Buss back in the day, or whatever. Center position, man. This is an interesting one because there's actually some really good names here. I think like a Steven Adams, right, on the Rockets. We've talked about the Rockets being a team that would have to make some very tough decisions, and they have Sengun, right? So Steven Adams, I always he's only 32, man. Like I thought he was like 36 plus.
He came in super young,
Mitchell Robinson, Vucevic, Jakob Poeltl, Drummond, Jalen Smith from the Bulls, but I'm staying away from any ex-Bulls player. Don't give me Vooch. Don't give me Jalen Smith. Poeltl would be interesting, but I think I would probably land with Mitchell Robinson. Hartenstein is another one as well that I think that they would keep over Mitchell Robinson just because of his health, right? I know Mitchell Robinson's been playing really well for the Knicks, but I just think they'd have to make a decision between one of those two. And if I'm starting as a center, whether it be Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson, I'd take either one of those two over most of the other options. If you want a real veteran presence on a team that will likely be very young, Drummond could be an interesting decision, or Steven Adams was kind of my other back. So starting five, Sexton, Anthony Simons, Norman Powell. I'll say Kyle Anderson and Mitchell Robinson. Pretty brutal, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's funny because when you look at expansion, this is just like NBA 2K rebuild because you are the mastermind of this team. You're actually starting from zero right now. Like this is the inception. Like this is history starting for this franchise right now, where you're starting from nothing, no history, no precedent, no nothing, a new city, new fans, everything is new. So
except the Supersonics.
Yeah, that's true. But I kind of got absorbed by OKC. Like
OKC,
that's their champion.
That's going to be interesting. Like if that Seattle team got good, like is it just if they won the championship? Like I guess
think
that's
they
just
separate
their
out
first
the history now. Like OKC kind of absorbed it, and now with them being a powerhouse and winning a championship, it's like that's the Thunder is their franchise now. Like
it's going to take 20 years for something to change.
Exactly. Yeah, for me personally, right now, this is like when you gotta get some young guys and get some rebuilding guys and some vets because, like, you're gonna suck. Like you talking about tanking? When you're an expansion team, you're tanking automatically. Like, pretty much, you're giving lottery balls, you're giving high draft picks, and you're gonna have a team where you're gonna start from nothing right now. And I mentioned the guard. The guard I like is a vet, but he's still on the younger side, 29 years old. Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
I just need some good culture guys on the younger side. I don't want too old guys, but for culture, I just want positivity. You're not getting that many wins, but I want some like professionals, you know what I mean? And in my lineup right now. So I'm just like looking at professional guys off the court that's going to be good examples because you're going to get a lot of young guys coming in, draft picks, and that's going to be your core. So for me personally, you bring a guy like a Tyus Jones. This is a nice, solid player. He's not going to do much, obviously, with passing to the guys around him right now. But for me personally, like Tyus Jones is the PG that I'm like, okay, give me a Tyus Jones paying $5, $6, $7 million. I'm like, that is a good start for an NBA franchise right there, where he could just be that guy. That I'm like, not bad at all for a start for me. And as far as pairing with him, I'm going to look at some veterans now. So where I'm building out this backcourt, I'm going to want some shooting. This guy is obviously I would say he's on the older side. He's actually a lot older than I thought, but I'm going to bring in one vet just to help out this young core. I'm bringing a little Tim Hardaway Jr.
That's fair.
Add a shooter. I remember he helped out Detroit a lot when he was down there for just a season. So adding a veteran shooter, like all this guy does is shoot. So you bring a solid little backcourt right now where you got a pure point, and I would say a pure two. Like Tim Hardaway Jr., that guy just loves jacking up three. So I'm building a little backcourt right there. So I'm okay. This is somewhat of a team building roster right now where obviously we're not going for wins now. We're playing for draft picks right now, but that is actually a nice, solid start for me personally. But it's funny because right now when I went through the teams, I look more at the Western Conference teams because there's so much more talent. Oh yes, there is just more talent, more deeper, and less players that like pretty good teams can't protect these good players right now. So for me personally, I'm looking at those guys right now like these are some guys I could build with going forward. After that, I'm looking at the forward position for me. I'm like, there's some guys that I'm like, it is one of the harder positions for me personally to look at. I'm just like looking at these forwards, like none of them are going to be difference makers, but I'm gonna get some young blood in there. We're not gonna win many games. Give me like a Julian Phillips. You heard me right.
Terry?
No Dalen Terry. No Dalen Terry. Give me
Julian
some
Phillips.
Yeah, Julian. You heard me. Julian Phillips. We're losing games right now, but I want a super young guy in there too. So I had some older guys, 29, 33 years old. Give me a flyer on Julian Phillips. Like T-Wolves ain't gonna protect Julian Phillips. They just traded for him, so like he's kind of like a whatever guy. He's one of the last man on the roster. I would love a Dasumu, but I feel like they ain't gonna.
Yeah, they keep him.
Yeah, Dasumu is like that is a core player for that roster. So I'm like, okay, and I'm gonna get someone that good, but I'm like, okay, give me a Julian Phillips in there. There's some young guys, so some young guys in there. Man, I don't know. This is going a lot, but I don't know if this is also from the guard. Colin Gillespie, kind of interesting.
Yeah, on the Suns.
Yeah,
I think
on
they
the
keep
Suns.
him.
You think they keep him?
Just looking at their roster, I think they keep him.
Yeah, they don't have much.
They don't have much to keep. It'd be Booker, Grayson Allen.
I'll put out a name. Maybe Jalen Green. Maybe they let Jalen Green go.
They might let him walk.
They may let a Jalen Green go because he kind of really doesn't fit the roster. And he's still a high upside guy, former second overall pick. And obviously, he's not met up the expectations of the number 2 overall pick relative to guys like Cade Cunningham, who's a bona fide superstar, while Green's kind of just a flashy scorer. But he's 23 years young.
Yep.
Think about that. Like I keep him like, dang, he's still that young. So he's definitely raw. Still has a lot of potential. But he's fits in that mode of super athletic guy, super young with high upside. But maybe the basketball IQ is not there yet. Maybe we're losing games right now. So maybe we could develop some IQ on that roster for me personally. And this is another guy. I'm going a little stretch for it. Give me a little guy like Precious Achiuwa.
So he was on my list too.
Yeah, I'm like, give me a forward. Like he's still young too. Precious Achiuwa, 20s. He's like a hustle guy, some good energy. Like not much else. Like he's an energy guy. Like
turn into Josh Hart. He could turn into Josh Hart, man.
Yeah, maybe that's what Tibbs was trying to use him at, like Precious Achiuwa, but it didn't turn out that well. But he's a nice little energy guy. He's more of a traditional 4, not the most skilled guy, but give you some hustle and bustle down there. So get some rebounding down there. But there are some other vets I thought about. I think you mentioned Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
He's just a steady guy, good vet, not the best player. I called him Harrison Bricks for years, but when you're on a rebuilding team, give me a Harrison Barnes. He's a good veteran. He's a good veteran and a good example for these kids to follow right now. So Harrison Barnes was also looking. I'm like, maybe a little Harrison Barnes in there too. So I'm looking at that also. And for the center position, I think you mentioned it, Vucci Maine, man.
You want him? Wow.
Yeah, give me Vooch. I know Vooch is finally in a great situation. Like, the Celtics, man. We're going to win now situation. Bye-bye, Vooch. Bye-bye. You're going back to another bad situation of rebuilding right now in the last couple of years. Give me a Vooch down there. Still a professional. He's still going to work on a double-double machine. But if I'm looking at this roster right now, you do got some positional need where you got a roster. Like, you look at some NBA teams out there. There's some bad rosters out there, roster construction. But with this roster construction, you got some high upside and young talents, athleticism. Got some vets in the backcourt and the center. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, okay, we got some foundation. I don't know about foundation guys, but culture guys. All I need is good culture right now because the losing is going to take a toll on these players.
It's going to take a 5 years.
Yeah, that's the gist of these. When you're in an expansion team, you're going to lose.
Unless you get a Shaq.
Unless you get a transcendent draft pick and a number 1 overall pick, like a Wemby or a Cooper Flag that comes in and is like, okay, these guys are coming in with immediate impact. And even I would even mention Cade Cunningham now.
Yeah.
Seeing what he's done with a franchise that was nothing. And now
for
the
30
number 1
years.
seed. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes it just takes him to
develop. I shouldn't say that. 20 years. I forgot about the 04 Chauncey Billups Pistons. That's my fault. That's right. That's fair too. I like that. Yeah. I think the thing with a lot of these like expansion teams, and it's funny because I was thinking about this. I was like, whatever year it ends up being, Zoo, watch the Bulls actually get a good lottery pick, and then they get screwed out by the expansion teams. That's all I kept thinking because they get extra weight. I think in the lottery once it does.
Yeah.
As they should. But if for the Bulls' luck, it would be that year. Let me tell you.
And I have it on great authority, not like I'm talking to people, but I just have a really good hunch that with that weight, it goes more than likely to Vegas. I feel like Vegas would get that pick just because it's more of a market where I mean, you kind of already have Seattle. Their fan base is there. I don't have this inkling that, oh, a lot of those fans just became Oklahoma City Thunder fans. Like, I think they held a lot of resentment, and just there's a lot of fans who have throwback Sonics gear in their closet ready to wear whenever the Supersonics come back. So, which I don't know how that's even going to go.
They should keep the name. They should go back to it.
Oh, really?
But the NBA is
not a fresh start.
No,
I think the NBA is greedy. They might do a fresh start because they just want to sell more merch. Because a lot of fans would, if you do Supersonics, the sales are not going to be as high as if you name them Sonic Super or something. Because they're just going to be able to buy new gear. Because that's somehow some fans' minds work. Now, if it's me, regardless, if I'm a Supersonics fan and they're called Sonic Super, I'm still wearing my Supersonics gear. I don't care. I'm not going in there and buying a new gear because it would, that would. Plus, too, I might sell it because then it becomes that more valuable because there's Supersonics not back. But I have an inkling that it probably would go to Vegas. But I looked at this and took this approach as what you guys have been saying for the last couple minutes of just losing. Like, I'm going to this, we're losing. I'm gonna put a lot of guys on there who haven't really gotten a lot of minutes. And I'm just gonna look at it from a perspective of we're gonna be bad for not just this year, not just next year, the year after that. And I'm just gonna also, if I'm to say the GM or president of basketball operations, whoever it is, I'm gonna be making the trip to Secaucus, New Jersey, and talking with Adam Silver about like, yo, all right, now 2028, 2029, I need that number one pick. This is what we're thinking. I got to just, massage that relationship so I know I'm getting that pick. Yeah, so then after that, 2 or 3 years of losing and seeing who can play, then I'll have that number one pick. But for me, the toughest position, because I was looking at it from a standpoint of like, man, we're just going to be losing and seeing who can develop. Point guard was the toughest for me because if you really truly went down just the top 8, I did not realize how there's not a lot of guards in the league. Like in terms of guys who could start. Like I feel like there's a lot of guys who are in that 9 to 10 role and who, when they come in and play for their respective teams, they're getting maybe 10, 12 minutes and they could fill a role. But like in terms of becoming a starter, it's not a lot of guys. And I think with teams, when I was just kind of trying to play like hypothetical GM is like, I'm keeping I kept seeing myself keep guards more than like bigs, which is like backwards because you would think there's more guards in the league. But I'm talking about like in my head, I was just like, of course you're keeping the starter, but then it's like, man, like I kind of like this backup. Like I kind of need to keep this backup on the team because I don't want to have a point where my star point guard comes off the court and I got a masquerading 2 guard as my point. So like,
it's like Anthony Black with Jalen Suggs. That was the big one.
It's like that's valuable. Like you need a guy like that behind you, especially if you're a team that's ever going to get to a point that's trying to win. So I felt like it got slim. So I'm also looking at it from a standpoint of like who's going to put butts in the seats. And this guy right here is the perfect match for non-developed, high upside in terms of like traits and name recognition. And it's Bronny James. He's going to be my point guard. Gonna put him at point. I'm gonna get Phil Handy.
In Vegas? LeBron's gonna
Vegas is the owner. Literally, just gonna get Phil Handy. He's developed so many guards. Gonna have Bronny. In let's just say 4 years, he ends up being my backup point guard when I get my star point guard. Like that. But that's for funny. The next 3 or 4 years, he'll just be literally playing as my point. And that's a draw. For 2 guard, I was battling with 2 guys where I was like, I don't know where New Orleans would go, but I was like looking at their numbers, and Sadiq Bey's been playing better than Jordan Poole. Like he's averaging like I think almost 17 points a game. So then I was like, okay, well I'll just take Jordan Poole. I'll just take him.
Yeah,
like him playing in that. What year was that? Was it 2023 when they went to the finals? When he was going crazy? Or was it 2022? 22. And might I note, Golden State ain't looked the same since he left, but maybe that's probably because of just Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry not being as healthy. But I will say, him just being a legitimate scorer, I think is very valuable in not only the league, just on this team, because he's going to get a lot of opportunities to score. Now, leadership-wise, that's a wild card because while I don't think he's a bad guy, I don't think he's like a knucklehead. That Draymond situation, unfair or fair, it kind of just, kind of tailspin his career into more so of a like, can this guy be trusted and stuff like that? So that was unfortunate, but I do like his talent. I've always been a fan of him. He's one of the more craftier guys in the league. And And like a alternate universe too, like it would never happen. But I always wondered how he would be as if he truly bought into like maybe being a point guard, because he's really, really good at dribbling. Like he's really, really good at creating space, making like he has pretty good handles.
He's a Walmart.
Yeah, he's not wired that way. But like in an alternate universe, I would be interested to see if he could do that if maybe the right coach came and bought into like him maybe doing that. But for this team, he's going to be a 2 guard and he's going to be chucking a bunch of shots. So this one right here, I kind of did a little bit of cheating where I looked at it like they can't keep this guy. It's just not happening because of how much talent they have on their roster. And I need a rugged, tough guy who's going to bring leadership and championship DNA, and that's Lou Dort. I think there's a real possibility. Yeah, I think there's a real possibility he's not going to be with OKC. Yeah. I think they let him go.
Yeah.
Because if you're Sam Presti, the 3 non-negotiables is Chet, Jalen, and Shea. So after that, I know Caruso's of age, but I don't really want him. And a lot of their other guys they have a lot of 6'5", 6'6" guys who can kind of fill that void of what Lou Dort does. And I think Lou Dort's probably going to be expensive because he's a very, very valuable commodity. Yep. So I'm thinking, like, to people's point, if he does maybe go on the market, like, we're going to have money to spend. So I think we could put a lot of money into. I would feel very confident putting a lot of money into Lou Dort and him being a centerpiece of the team, like 3-and-D guy who's gonna, just be a matchup problem for whoever he's guarding, which won't be a lot because we're probably gonna be getting beat by a crap load of points. But even still, then I went to like power forward, another upside guy, because at this point, again, I'm trying to lose and I'm trying to just see who I can develop talent wise. And I went to Memphis roster, and obviously their roster has a lot of guys who there's going to be some Memphis fans who's going to be like, dang, we got to let him go. Because even with like losing JJ and Desmond and potentially Ja, like you're going to get back a lot of good players, I feel like. Now with Ja, it's getting weird where his value is going down.
No value.
I don't know.
40 million.
I think maybe that changes in the offseason where it's just like teams like, all right, after the playoffs and all that stuff, you're like, okay, we kind of just need a guy like him. Maybe you'll get some more value for Ja, but obviously his value isn't where it was. But you have him, you have a bunch of different guys on that team. So I was looking at this like guys I watched last year who were like good because you know how sometimes after the All-Star break and towards the end of the season, there's guys that just play a bunch of minutes that it's like, oh my God, he's averaging 20 points the last 2 weeks of the season. It's like most of that is fool's gold because a lot of teams are resting, but it's also like, he's showing something, like maybe he has potential going into the future. G.G. Jackson's a guy that I like a lot. He's a wing that can shoot. He can get to the rim. He can do a little bit of mid-range. I do wonder, like, is he a tweener? Because he's like 6'9", 6'8", and I don't know if he's like a physical, rugged power forward, so that kind of worries me a little bit. So if I'm not able to maybe get Lou Dort, I'll probably maybe push him down to small forward and then look for another power forward. Because if in that case that happens, I was looking at a guy on the Nets like Day'Ron Sharpe. He's a good defensive big that's behind. He's like 6'10".
Behind Claxton.
Decent offensive guy, but that's neither here nor there. Like I could probably maybe get away with GG playing at power forward, but that could be a stretch. And then for center, there's a guy for the Hawks, Mohamed Guy. I was doing the calculations on the Hawks of like who they would keep, and he kept coming up at like 7 and 8. So they already have another guy that's the center that played with
Okongwu.
LaMelo, Okongwu, who played with LaMelo in high school and stuff. He's like their starter. Then they drafted another guy, Asanul, who's like a power forward center who was is perceived to maybe be like a lob threat 3-point guy. So I was looking at it like, could it be Asanul? Could it be Mohamed Guy? It's like I hope Atlanta would like maybe could keep Asanul and like Kuminga and maybe one other guy, and then have like Mohamed kind of on the back burner, because then I would love to just have him as my center. Super long, athletic, shooting touch. Like he could be a really, really nice project down the road. Definitely not ready right now at all. But that's kind of the theme in this team. Like I'm definitely going into this is like, of course, if I fill out the rest of the roster, if a CJ McCollum's like on the waiver wire somewhere, or like to your point, people, it's like Tobias Harris, who I think still has a little bit of game, but if he's like out there as a free agent, I wouldn't, invite those guys because you got to have veteran leadership just for the locker room sake.
Yep.
But just in terms of who's going to be playing for me, it'd be those guys. Because I think that's a great combination of guys who were high upside, athletic freaks, as they would say. And I'm guaranteed to be losing. So therefore, if I'm losing, my picks are going to be higher and higher. And obviously, it is a chance, and it's a very high risk that the 29 draft is not really that good. You don't know. Obviously, this 26 draft is coming up. If that was like the 29 draft and we knew that, then this plan is like awesome. Because there's a great chance, like to Zeus, like if you get a Darren Peterson, then okay, your rebuild is like 60% done. Because now you have a cornerstone, and now you just got to be GM and fit around that cornerstone. If obviously he grows into the role of being a superstar player, which I think those top 3 guys have the potential to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at this as just like, let me just put out a bunch of guys and see who can play. And then once we start getting and building, my future draft picks, which we'll have the ability to pick, then I'll be like, okay, this is who fits. This is who does. I mean, you can kind of maybe look at it like a Utah type of deal where you just been trying to figure out how to get as many draft picks as you can and then see who fits with what. And if they get lucky this year, because I was also playing in my head before we go to the next topic, like, assume Utah gets the number 1 pick. Like, just assume it. And I think they're due. Like, they're due to get it.
Yeah, they are due.
If they get Darren Peterson, like, I was playing in my head, like, man, I could get Isaiah Collier because I think he's out of there. Because then it's like, because him and Keontae are going to be the 2 guys. Even though Keontae is a scoring guard and they duplicate, like, Keontae would have to go with Phil Handy and get some point guard skills because Darren's going to be the number 2. So it's like, that would run through my head. Like, I think Collier, like, if I could get Collier as like my point, then I feel a whole lot better in terms of like my future. Like, we're still going to lose, but like having him as a building point, because I think he's good. I just think it's kind of, Utah's weird where they're logjam a lot of places. And with the Bulls, like, I didn't go with Anthony Simons. I was thinking like you guys would keep him, and I was looking at more like, would they give up like a Dillingham or like the other guard?
I said they would keep that.
Yeah, I think they're gonna keep Dillingham.
They keep Dillingham and Ivy, but they'd let Simons go because he does money.
What? So is he almost out his contract?
No, he's a restricted free agent upcoming. So
right,
yeah.
Ivy's I agree, Zoo. Ivy's a little bit of a crapshoot on which way they would go with him, but I just think
because Bulls got so many guards. I was just like,
and Simons is just I hate to say he's just another Kobe White. That's what he is. He's a combo guard that wants to score.
They got paid a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can shoot it though. You can shoot it.
He can.
Simons can get hot. And Simons, I think, is like
a microwave.
If you had the right team around him, would just be that. He's like this quintessential, like you said, Kobe White, like 6 man. I can see him playoff game. Just he gets 25 wins.
When he was on Boston.
Like, yeah.
He was coming for Boston, just dropping 20 points off the bench. So
I get the Vooch move, but like it would have been interesting because now Tatum, I guess, apparently is coming back. But him and Simons, like, just I would have loved to have seen that with like Tatum coming back. But
Tatum would have become the 3rd option. Let me tell you.
Oh my God.
But and how about, I don't know if you guys saw the NBA All-Star weekend where Tatum is like a series that he's coming out with, like his road to recovery. I was like, oh really? God, it's Disney. It's just a made for Disney. Like it just, you can't script this more. It's just, and now that kind of confirmed where I was like, okay, I think he's coming back, which I just think is a massive mistake. Like, I get it's Boston, but like, bro, you guys won not too long ago. Just why can't he not come back next year fully 100%? Why do you have to rush him back?
Because it's a good year for it in the East.
Jaylen Brown's not good. That's the thing. Those guys are like young. Like Jaylen Brown's gonna be good as hell next year.
Yeah, and the East.
Yeah, like
you're gonna have a lot of opportunities.
He's just itching to play. I'm sure
he is. And I'm sure now with surgeries and whatever, it's maybe I've misjudged the Achilles. I just always thought ACL you come back fast, but Achilles.
I don't know. I think Achilles is still pretty devastating. Just like the only guy that I've seen an outlier was Kevin Durant. He kind of just came back.
And his game's way different than Tatum, I feel like. Tatum does a lot of side to side, like, and he's younger where he's more explosive at the rim. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, expansion. We're not sure what year that's coming, but we are very certain that it's going to be Vegas and Seattle, and it's going to be interesting to even just see what the branding of how it goes and like how these teams are going to be marketed about, which is going to be really interesting. So
you got to market
it's going to be really interesting.
This is like an iconic moment in history where 32 teams. That's a
Yeah.
moment in NBA history. Like, wow, we got 2 new teams, 2 new franchises. Like, people are gonna be talking about this, having new franchises.
That's like awesome too if you're from those areas, and it's like now you kind of just get to lay
you grew up
like
with,
that's who you have. That's your team
from there, and it's like you're seeing it from inception. Like,
it's so pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Very cool. But so we're gonna be peeled out to see and hopefully be able to have a quick answer from Matt Silver when the timeline of that will be. So speaking still of expansion, with that becomes a lot of movement, realignment, things of that nature. So we kind of wanted to get more of an idea of how do we think the conferences are going to be aligned, who's going to move where, and once all the dust settles with that, which team is going to individually benefit the most from this realignment. And Zoo, who do you think that would be?
Mm-hmm. It's so easy right now because I'm looking at this where we're getting 2 West teams, so 2 West teams are going to move over to the East.
Only one.
For me, no, 2.
No, because there's 15 and 15. It would be 17 and 15. They need to move one over to make it equal at 16 and 16.
Oh yeah, because there's 3 West teams and yeah, that does make sense. See, I was thinking 2 too, but now you just talked it out. Yeah,
just 1.
Because if they both join the West, there's 17 in the West and 15 in the East.
15.
So they need to move one over from the West to make it 16, and then add the 1 to make it 16.
I'm going to give you guys a theory that they might do some extra movement of some teams from the East.
Oh, like swapping?
Yeah, swap out.
Like teams that are
kind of like I'm going to tell you, it's going to kind of be like a rebalancing. I'm going to give you one team. I think it's a for sure lock if they do this within the next, I would say 3-4 years. Minnesota.
Timberwolves. With the conspiracies up in here, man.
Yeah, I'm Minnesota Timberwolves for me.
Mm-hmm.
You got a guy in Anthony Edwards where he's one of the young superstars, and what the East is lacking is young superstars. Like all the young superstars are in the West. Even I would say the potential ones, obviously they didn't pan out. Zion, John Morant, these guys were the potential young superstars. They obviously didn't turn out, but they were both Western Conference draft picks. You're looking at the only one I would say is a superstar right now is Cade Cunningham. I'm still waiting on Powell. Obviously, this year is not having the best year, but Cade Cunningham is probably the only guy off the top of my head. They have a young superstar that was drafted by a team first overall pick, and he's developing and showing that I'm a young superstar carrying a
Scotty
franchise.
Barnes?
Yeah, stop it.
He's on the way.
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, but they didn't draft him.
Oh yeah, they didn't draft him.
Yeah, I'm talking about right now because if you look at the West, they were gifted. Like the Mavericks were gifted Cooper Flag. Like they had the 10th worst, and they were gifted a guy who's coming as a rookie, putting up 40. Like that's what. So they were just gifted Cooper Flag, and
still a teenager.
Spurs, and then the Spurs were just gifted Wembanyama. I'm like, yeah, they go from David Robinson, Tim Duncan to Wembanyama. Like it's just the most luckiest franchise in the history of NBA franchises.
Yep.
So when you're gifted so many good players, obviously those teams they're gonna make massive bounce backs. Like I don't think it's gonna take long for Dallas to become a playoff team again. Obviously, the Spurs took that step, and now they're a perennial contender now with the number 2 seed right now. So obviously, the East is lacking a lot of talent. If I'm the commissioner, I want some young superstar talent in the East, and I'm looking at Minnesota T-Wolves right now with Anthony Edwards, where we need a guy with charisma. We need a guy. He's a high flyer. He's like the prototype shooting guard, high flyer, could shoot the 3, could dunk the ball. Got the smile, like he's got it all in the package on I would say the intangibles right now. So you bring Minnesota, kind of like a Midwest team, like you move that team over. I'm like, okay. And I would say like the Timberwolves I can't believe I'm saying it. It's one of the more competently run franchises now.
Which is ironic. After the Gobert trade.
Yeah, like Minnesota has a history of making stupid draft decisions while taking 4 point guards in a draft and not taking Steph Curry. And that guy,
Johnny Flynn.
Like Johnny Flynn, Tyler, like how do you take 4 point guards and not take Steph Curry with one of those Ricky Rubio? Like, how do you do that? Now they got a new regime in and they think like they do some savvy moves where it's like, oh, that's actually pretty interesting. And obviously I was a big fan of the Gobert trade, but They've been in the Western Conference Finals back-to-back years, and they beat some really good teams.
Yeah,
you beat Hall of Fame guys like Kevin Durant, Jokic. So they beat some really, really good teams. And obviously Anthony Edwards is the guy that was the number 1 pick, the franchise guy that saved his franchise. So I am moving the Minnesota T-Wolves to the Eastern Conference for me right now. I'm looking at that. I'm like, that for me is just That's an easy pick for me.
Yeah.
That is the easy pick for me personally, because I'm just like, Minnesota, it's close to Wisconsin, close to Illinois. You consider that kind of like a Midwest thing. So for me, it's one of the bigger cities in the Midwest, right? I would still consider it a Midwest state. So Minnesota, for me, I'm like Anthony Edwards, come to the East. And I feel like they're like, the East a little weak right now. Maybe Edwards can make it to the NBA Finals.
I agree.
The path is easier in the East.
Yeah.
And right now, I feel like there's going to be a rotation of teams making it into the NBA Finals through the Eastern Conference. I think the West is just too much. It's just better. Like, I think in my perspective, I want both of these expansion teams, right? Western Conference, so you're going to have two really, really bad teams, and then move some diversity from the West and move it over to the East to like rebalance it coming in. So for me personally, my number one team is the Minnesota T-Wolves.
Yeah,
100%.
I agree. I mean, they're mine too, because it makes sense geographically, right? I think that's the big thing. You could argue, new rivalries, right, with like a Milwaukee or a Chicago. The other two that come to mind, and Sean, I think when we talked about this topic last week, was like Memphis, New Orleans, right? If you're thinking geographically, but they're both towards the very bottom of the league, and obviously in the Western Conference. But to your point, it's a good point, because like if they just decided to swap teams, right, then you'd have to throw geography out the window, because any other move like that would not make sense geographically. But that doesn't really matter when you really think about it. Like, it doesn't really matter. Divisions are pretty much gone at this point, other than the fact that you play them more in the season, right? Like it's kind of become a divisionless league. But with the Timberwolves, I think like right now they would be the 5th seed in the East. And I think they're a better team than the Cavs.
Yeah,
I think they're a better team than the Cavs.
They're chilling right now.
Yeah, they're chilling. And, so do they automatically make the finals? No, they still have to go through the Celtics, which would be a very difficult run, and thinking even like 5 years out, right? But to your point, Zoo, they've put together a very good team after they pretty much traded all of their future draft capital for Rudy Gobert. And that's, I think, been the most impressive thing to watch over the last 4 seasons, give or take. But I agree. I think they'd be the biggest benefactor. If you were to move either New Orleans or Memphis, I think they would lean Memphis more so, because it's just a better run organization.
Yep.
To your point earlier, Sean, going through who they would have to decide, and they have a lot of young talent that, sure, they don't have a superstar with Ja Morant's injury issues, off the court issues, blah, blah, blah. He's not a superstar anymore. He used to be, now isn't. Could he make a resurgence on a different team? Could he have a resurgence on the Grizzlies? Who knows? But it's hard for me off the top, Zoo, when you're talking about swapping teams. Like a team like the Blazers would be a team that I could see them moving over to the East, because like they're starting to get competitive. They're starting to kind of turn the leaf a little bit. They got Denny Avdija, they got Scoot Henderson, a bunch of other guys too that, that maybe I'm being a hopeful Bulls fan so we can get their pick this year, man. But they have they have some solid young pieces. Avdija's had an unbelievable year this year. He's been really, really coming into his own this year. But a Dallas could be another consideration, but I don't think that they would move just one Texas team and leave the other two in the West, because that is, we remember back in the day, you had Tim Duncan, you had T-Mac and Yao Ming, and then you had Dirk Nowitzki. Those were always great games to watch, and it was mostly because of the rivalry and how often they played each other. So I just think they wouldn't move one of those teams. But Oklahoma City could be an interesting one. A little central in the U.S., best team in the league by far. We'll see what happens when they got to start, with the whole contract situation and how that unfolds. They're still going to be a great team. But, if we're talking 5 years down the line, this could be a very different Thunder franchise, right? Just based on age, money, etc. So, I agree, Zoo. I think right now the Timberwolves are the obvious choice. But I would not be super surprised if they did a swap, like you said, and moved a very good team that we see currently as a very good team, and moving them over and maybe swapping like I don't know, what's an Eastern Conference team that could be easily moved? That wouldn't affect too much, like even a Toronto, right? They're Canadian, like move them, right? Like they're maybe a little bit more malleable. So this is I'd hate to be working for Adam Silver right now and being like, all right, figure it out. What do we do? I'm sure they'd be running all types of algorithms and numbers trying to figure out best for competition, because I do think they add both to the West on the expansion side. You got to even it out a little bit. It's not just star power, but it's narrative. It's narrative too that I think is a big thing that we don't talk about that much in sports. From a league sense, they want the narrative. They want the Mahomes versus Brady in a Super Bowl before Brady retires, right? They want a LeBron James versus, an Ant Edwards, right, situation in the playoffs, and so on and so forth. So if you can get cooler matchups between players, like a Jason Tatum versus an Ant, that would be a lot more fun to watch, and maybe get some more eyeballs back on the regular season.
Clean sweep Minnesota as well in terms of realignment just makes the most sense. But if I'm Minnesota, I mean, 2 Western Conference Finals. We'll see what happens this year. Stuff happens in this league, and if I'm them, I'm sending my scouts and whoever's like my, I don't know, bottom tier assistants to Atlanta, Georgia, to just have ears to the streets to see what's going on. Because I would not be shocked to see Anthony Edwards want to make a move down there, especially with Trey being gone and Jalen Johnson rising. That would be a heck of a 1-2 punch. So if I'm Minnesota, I better start getting to the finals, or that could be a realistic move for Anthony Edwards.
And they might get
Sure.
Oh, Jesus. If they get a high draft pick
on a rookie contract
with Johnson, that is the greatest rebuild in the history of rebuilds.
Yeah, literally.
And, oh my God. As you mentioned, that unprotected draft pick is the key. Like that lottery ticket is one of the most valuable things. They got it for Derek Queen. So
unbelievable.
It's unbelievable trade. Unbelievable.
And knowing that, like, and this is now going to go into, deep thought, deep tank, all that stuff, like deep think, Twitter, NBA Twitter theories. Like, of course, if Adam Silver or his confidants, whoever, are around him and are hearing that, yes, might be a possibility, Ant may go to Atlanta, like, that pick is all of a sudden maybe not going to become Devonsta, it may become like a 5th or 6th, because it's just like, that would be more so of a just all-time rebuild for a franchise who had a really good run with Trey. Like, they got to Eastern Conference Finals and they were booming for a little bit, but you want to talk about a 180 turn, like that could put Atlanta in a really different atmosphere in terms of like, oh, this is now the team that's going to be going to the Eastern Conference Finals 10 out of 12 years. And then, let me say like just 7 out of 8 years. And then there's a chance they go to a couple finals, because that's a lot of athletic upside and just different types of dudes on the wings.
Sean, but if they get that lottery pick real quick, they would move Atlanta to the West and be like, all right, now you guys got to go deal with
go play with. But I do have a interesting theory of, yes, the West does have the top heavy of, like, yes, they have the stars, but like superstars. I do think like once LeBron, Curry, like KD, like their high end guys are going to be gone, and then we're now looking at like, and if we're saying superstars, like Jokic will still be more likely playing and still be pretty good. Like Wemby's maturation is going to be really good. Shea, which he's on the older side, and that's another thing I was thinking about. Like, if I'm OKC, like Shea is 27. I mean, he's a guard, and he's not like an explosive athlete where I don't think he's going to age bad. He's like, what do you do with Topic? Like, he's not. Is he a backup point guard for them? I don't know. So like that was another guy I was thinking about. Like,
they might trade him, man.
They might. Or like, do they protect him? Because it's like Shea's not 34, so it's like it's not like we're waiting it out and Topic.
They're win now mode right now. They're win now.
Yeah, so I don't know if Topic fits the timeline. Like Topic, I don't think is going to be to his full potential, being like a backup point guard. Like maybe he does, and OKC, because OKC also has a bunch of different picks. So like maybe OKC keeps him just to see if they can trade him and get value.
Trade him for a
rich
pick.
Get richer.
Trade him for a future pick. They just keep rolling.
Which they would probably do. So that's why they would just protect him. But he's an interesting guy. But I do think like you could see some rebalancing, because I think it's just like I say, Bron, and I know Bron's older, but like Curry, all those guys who are kind of in their later stages, KD, feels like all the superstar power is over there. But like, let's just say you wash those 3 out. It's like now you're looking at Wemby, you're looking at
Luka,
Cooper, Luka,
Shea.
I think Luka's gonna age really badly, like in 3 or 4 years. So we only maybe have 3 to 4 more years of Luka.
Oh,
and he also
wow.
said I'm not playing. I'm not saying 3 or 4 years of playing, but like being super high level.
Agreed.
But I was also thinking like Booker's like a star, but he's not a
Booker.
superstar. So and then when you go to the East, it's like Kate Cunningham obviously is a guy.
The Celtics.
Orlando's played so bad this year. It's just like
Yeah,
it's hard right now. They're going to have to get to the playoffs and make a run for me. Be like, okay, those are guys that are coming in terms of like superstars, but they're not proving it right now. So that's kind of a dud. You still have Jaylen Brown and then relatively young Tatum. I mean, Colin Kneppel's a dude. Like he's not, I don't think could be a superstar, but he's a hell of a like just whatever the smallest tier is below superstar. You still got LaMelo and like name recognition. And then like if my theory were to come true, like you'd have Ant. Like I think the East has some dudes that could like not rival or like not be as good as the West, but they could rival where it looks like it's a little bit more balanced.
Yep.
And that's why I think with like even if Minnesota were to still keep Ant, if they do go to the East, that really does help because you just got Ant, who's a bona fide star. You just got him as a star. So, of course, I picked Minnesota. I also think too, if they were to like maybe move a West team around, I do agree with your point. People wish it would be Memphis, but not only because it's just Memphis. I do think there could be a real possibility they move to Nashville, and that's even further east. So then, like, you know, that could be a real possibility of like, hey, the biggest town in Tennessee that's got a thriving population of people moving there every day. Like, I think if you're the NBA, you're really, and plus two, it's no shade to Memphis, but it's just like a lot of people don't have the best. Let's not say stories because I don't know everybody's story, but it's like Memphis hasn't had the best reputation of being like the best place to be in terms of like, hey, you know, this is where I want to have a franchise. Like, I think it's a great city to visit and have a good time, but I don't think it's like somewhere I would like want to just necessarily live. And I think Nashville would be a very different change of pace for sure in terms of clients and just demographics outright. But I'm just saying, I think that market in terms, especially if you want to put them further east, that could work. So I think those would be the two most logical moves in terms of like, hey, if we want to move a West team over there, and then I know that make it unbalanced, but then like maybe just put Toronto in the West because they are kind of just in a no man's land. They're just like they're up there. So I mean, that could be a realistic thing of where it's like, okay, once you get all that, the dust settles with that and get that sorted out, it's like, okay, we can maybe have some more competitive balance. I just think in the NBA is very tough because the league is built on like stars, and if you don't have them, it's kind of hard to be competitive in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I did think of something. I'm like, because if they had two more teams, right, the divisions will need to be rebalanced.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm like, that will be a drastic change because they have to be the same number of teams even. So it'll be kind of like NFL where it's going to be knocked down to 4 teams, a division, and I'm so curious how they're going to break that out. Like,
but it doesn't really matter though. I mean, scheduling it does. Yes.
For
scheduling
it does because you play the divisional matchups obviously 4 times a year relative to other conferences.
It's not like the NFL divisions that we care about, but they do matter in terms of just like matchups.
Yes.
But
it doesn't affect seeding.
Yeah, at all.
Not at all.
Which I'm glad it doesn't.
Or maybe that's a change that they make. I don't know. This would be a rehaul on how they.
This is definitely a rehaul because a lot of like they got to rebalance divisions, rebalance conferences, like. A lot of stuff's going to happen.
They could make some playoff changes too. I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of the play-in.
Yeah, or even get rid of just conferences.
Just the best 16 teams make it.
They might just go best 16.
That might be.
It doesn't even matter.
And yeah, exactly. So maybe with this
prepare for anarchy.
Yeah, maybe, because with this expansion,
I don't know how that would go over.
This is the opportunity to rebalance because.
A 16 seed playing a 1?
Exactly, because
it's like March Madness.
Yeah, pretty much. And not going to lie, that's probably a good thing. Because
that means the Bulls would have to play the Thunder, man. They lose by 35 every single night.
You know what that means? We get some more draft picks, man.
There you go, fair.
Because year, these bad East teams constantly make the playoffs, so you constantly miss high lottery picks, and these West teams that are bad. No, they're good teams, but they're just missing the playoffs because they're in a way harder conference.
Like the Blazers.
Exactly. So they keep accumulating young talent. So it's like a flywheel effect where you have these better teams missing the playoffs and getting better assets because you're in the harder conference. So
That's true.
I didn't even think about it. I'm like, maybe they just make the best 16 teams. Okay, you make it.
If I'm Adam Silver and his team, approach this with like no bias, like clean slate. Pitch me like every option that you can think of,
Right.
and maybe they just keep it what it is. And to your point, both your points, like they just rehaul the divisions, and that's fine if they want to do that. But have like blueprint out other options because I'm sure they're not leaving anything off the table.
Adams also incentivized, like with this realignment that's going to be taking place, to more than likely want to get some stars in the East because it does matter. Like LeBron James, I hate when people use him as a barometer because he's just bigger than life. But like Curry is Curry. But man, if he was like on the East Coast and in like New York or Miami, he's like
Curry?
already
Oh, yeah.
massive,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it just would have been even more insane.
Oh yeah,
It's just
MSG.
people like most people are not staying up and watching the Laker game that comes on TNT or whatever, ESPN at 10:30. It's a late start.
It's very
Or
late.
Devin Booker at Phoenix or Wemby, like that's a late start. And yes, I know you can put them in a lot of those slots now where the NFL is not playing and you put them on 3:30, but you're only getting a few of those games. I'm talking about like if you're a diehard NBA fan and you want to watch whoever, like it's just easier when they're on the East Coast. And not trying to show my East Coast bias, but it's just stars pop out here. And to me, like if you're on the West Coast, unless you're with the Lakers or
Eventually Vegas.
if you're Jokic, who's the best player in the league, like it's just I think it would be a very beneficial if they had, if like Ant literally was in the East, like a growing star, like if Wemby would have went to an Eastern team like Miami or something, like it would have been way different. I know the Spurs are a tradition, but it's just branding does matter. So I think Adam, I think people should make a point like all this restructuring, everybody's going to be giving ideas, and I think he's going to take everything to heart.
Yep.
Because you kind of need to knock it out of the park in terms of how this realignment goes. You don't want to do something where
you can't just change it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I do think the 1 through 16 is such a, when I say anarchy, like that would, like you want to talk about NBA Twitter, we wouldn't be able to get on Twitter. It's just, it would shut down. Like people would just be losing their minds because it's just like, it would be weird. But that could be maybe something further down once we've had the two teams established, like Vegas and Seattle, for like 5 or 6 years. Then maybe we do something different on like the collective bargaining agreement. I don't know. But it is interesting to talk about because I do think more than anything, the people who are going to be the happiest about this is the owners, because I'm pretty sure they're going to get a nice little, I guess, what do they call that? A fee, or what is that? It's like something they get where it's like a bonus with like the revenue comes in where the two new teams are inserted into the league. Yeah, something like that. So they're going to be super excited about that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to be voting on this, and we'll see what year this comes about, and hopefully it'll be for the best. So like I said, we're now getting into more of our NBA talk. Again, March Madness is literally right around the corner. So we're going to be prepping and looking to see which teams we need to have our eyes on and who can maybe make a deep run. And then after that, like you said, we'll get into our NBA playoffs. So make sure you're locked in to all of our content. Tyson Talks _ Instagram page, Tyson Talks _ on TikTok, YouTube, Control Knows, Spotify, Apple. 5-star review, leave a comment. If you leave a comment, I'll read it and see if maybe you want some improvements or something you want us to talk about. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are